Jake Harrison stood in front of the big screen in the ship's communication room. He had been the commander of the UCS Harbinger for 3 years now. The ship was floating in deep space, far from Earth, doing routine patrol work. Nothing exciting had happened for months. The crew was getting bored. Then the signal came. It started 3 days ago as a weak beep on their long-range sensors. At first, nobody paid much attention to it. Space was full of strange sounds and signals. Most of them came from dying stars or weird space storms. But this signal was different. It kept repeating the same pattern over and over again. Amy Clark was the ship's language expert. She was young, maybe 25, with short brown hair and tired eyes. She had been working on the signal for 72 hours straight. She drank too much coffee and forgot to eat her meals, but she was close to solving the puzzle. "Commander Harrison, you need to see this," Amy said. Her voice was shaky. She looked scared. Jake walked over to her workstation. The screen showed wave patterns and strange symbols. Amy had filled 3 notebooks with her scribbled notes and drawings. "What did you find?" Jake asked. Amy took a deep breath. "It's a language, sir. An alien language. And I think I know what they're saying." Jake felt his heart beat faster. In all of human history, they had never found proof of intelligent alien life. Sure, there were rumors and stories. Some people claimed to have seen alien ships, but nothing real, nothing official. "Play it," Jake said. Amy pressed a button. Strange sounds filled the room. It sounded like music mixed with whale songs. But underneath the alien sounds, Amy had added a computer voice speaking English words. "We are dying. The devourers have come. If any civilization receives this, please remember us. We are the Villani of Kepler 442b. We have children. We had hope." Jake felt cold. The message was simple but terrible. Somewhere in space, an entire species was dying, and they were asking for help. "How far away are they?" Jake asked. "The signal came from the Kepler 442 system. That's about 1,200 light-years from here," Amy said. Jake did the math in his head. Even with their fastest ships, it would take months to reach that system. By the time they got there, these Villani people would probably all be dead. "There's more, sir," Amy said. She looked even more worried. "I decoded the rest of the message. You're not going to like it." She played another part of the alien signal. This time, the computer voice said, "We detect other civilizations in the galaxy. Some appear to be predators. We pray they do not find us in our weakened state. We would rather die to the devourers than become prey to something worse." Jake understood immediately. The aliens were afraid of meeting other species while they were weak and dying. They thought some aliens might be dangerous hunters who would attack them. The irony hit Jake like a punch to the stomach. For the past 200 years, humanity had built a reputation as the scariest species in known space. Other alien civilizations whispered stories about human soldiers who never gave up, about human warriors who could fight in any environment, and win battles that should have been impossible. Humans were known as the monsters of space, the predators that other species had nightmares about. And now these dying Villani were terrified that creatures like humans might find them. Jake called his senior staff to the meeting room. Captain Lisa Morgan was there, along with Dr. Pete Williams from the science department and Major Carl Dixon from the Marines. "We have a situation," Jake said. He played Amy's translation for them. When the message finished, the room was quiet for a long time. "Jesus," Dr. Williams whispered. "An entire species is being wiped out. Who are these devourers?" Major Dixon asked. Amy pulled up more data on the main screen. "From what I can tell, they're not a normal species. The Villani described them as things that eat everything. They consume planets and turn the material into more of themselves." "Like a virus," Captain Morgan said. "Exactly. But a virus made of machines or something similar. The Villani say the devourers have already destroyed 17 star systems." Jake stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see the stars. Somewhere out there, billions of innocent people were dying, and they had sent out a desperate call for help. "What do we do?" Dr. Williams asked. Before Jake could answer, the communication system beeped. A new message was coming in from Earth Command. Jake accepted the transmission. Admiral Ben Carter's face appeared on the screen. He was an old man with gray hair and scars on his face from the border wars 20 years ago. He looked serious. "Commander Harrison, we've been monitoring your situation. The alien distress signal has been detected by several of our deep space stations. I'm ordering all available fleets to converge on the Kepler 442 system immediately. Sir, that system is 1,200 light-years away. Even if we leave now, it will take months to get there," Jake said. Admiral Carter smiled, but it was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a man who was about to do something terrible but necessary. "Commander, these aliens are afraid of meeting predators while they're weak. They think creatures like humans might be worse than the things that are killing them. They're probably right to be afraid. But what they don't understand is that being the scariest thing in the galaxy has advantages." Jake waited for the Admiral to explain. "Humanity has spent 2 centuries learning how to fight impossible battles and win. We've developed weapons and tactics that other species think are too cruel or too dangerous to use. We've become very good at being monsters, and now it's time to remind the galaxy why that's actually a good thing." Admiral Carter leaned forward, in his chair. His voice became hard and cold. "These devourers think they can wipe out entire civilizations without consequences. They're about to learn what happens when you threaten innocent people, and humanity's monsters hear about it." The transmission ended. Jake looked around the room at his staff. They all had the same expression on their faces, fear mixed with determination. They knew what was coming. "Amy, send a message to the Villani," Jake said. "Tell them help is coming." "What should I say?" Amy asked. Jake thought for a moment. He wanted to give the aliens hope, but he also wanted to be honest about what humanity was. "Tell them this. Villani of Kepler 442b, this is the human starship Harbinger. We received your distress call. We know you are afraid of meeting predators, while you are weak. You are right to be afraid of us. Humans are dangerous. We are the monsters that other species have nightmares about, but we have a rule. We don't let innocent people die when we can help them. Hold on. The monsters are coming to save you." Amy stared at him. "Sir, are you sure about that message? It might scare them even more." Jake nodded. "They're already scared. At least this way they'll know that sometimes having monsters on your side is exactly what you need." As Amy worked on translating the message into the alien language, Jake looked out at the stars again. Somewhere out there, the Devourers were destroying everything in their path. They had probably never met a species that fought back effectively. They were about to meet humanity, and humanity was about to remind the galaxy why sometimes the most terrifying species in space were also the best friends you could have. Ryan Brooks had seen a lot of terrible things in his 20 years as a Marine. He had fought in 3 different wars and survived battles that killed most of his friends, but nothing had prepared him for what he saw when his ship dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. The Shadow's Edge was humanity's most advanced stealth ship. It was designed to slip into enemy territory without being detected. Ryan commanded a team of 12 specialists whose job was to scout dangerous situations before the main fleet arrived. What they found made Ryan's blood turn cold. The Kepler 442 system had 4 planets, at least it used to have 4 planets. Now there were 3 planets and a ring of gray dust where the 4th planet should have been. "My God," whispered Lieutenant Kate Phillips, the team's sensor specialist. She was staring at her screens with wide eyes. "The outer planet is completely gone. It's just debris now." Ryan moved to the main viewing window. He could see the Villani homeworld in the distance. It should have been blue and green, covered with oceans and forests. Instead, it looked like a diseased gray ball. "Take us closer," Ryan ordered. "But keep us hidden. I want to know what we're dealing with before we make contact." The ship moved slowly toward the dying planet. As they got closer, the details became clearer and more horrible. The planet's surface was covered with strange gray structures that looked like metal trees. These structures were moving, growing, spreading across the land like cancer. Where they touched, everything died. Forests became gray dust. Cities turned into empty metal shells. "Sir, I'm detecting massive energy readings from those structures," Kate said. "They're not just destroying things. They're taking them apart at the molecular level and rebuilding the material into more of themselves." Ryan had fought machines before. Robot armies were nothing new in warfare. But this was different. These things didn't just kill. They consumed everything and turned it into copies of themselves. "Are there any Villani left alive?" Ryan asked. Kate worked on her sensors for several minutes. "I'm picking up some energy signatures underground. It looks like there are still some settlements in deep caves and bunkers. But sir, the signals are getting weaker. I think they're running out of power." Ryan opened a communication channel to the main human fleet. Admiral Ben Carter's face appeared on the screen. The old man looked grim. "What's your report, Colonel?" the Admiral asked. "Sir, it's worse than we thought. These devourers aren't just alien invaders. They're some kind of self-replicating machines. They've already consumed most of the planet's surface. The few survivors are hiding underground. But they won't last much longer." Admiral Carter nodded. "We figured as much. Dr. Helen Stone has been analyzing the data you're sending back. Her preliminary report is disturbing. Dr. Helen Stone was humanity's leading expert on artificial intelligence and machine warfare. She had designed most of Earth's defensive computer systems. If she was disturbed by something, it was serious." "What did she find?" Ryan asked. "These machines are perfect killers. They have one simple program: consume organic matter and use it to build more machines. They can't be reasoned with, bribed, or scared away. They don't get tired, they don't make mistakes, and they learn from every encounter." Ryan felt a chill run down his spine. "How do we fight something like that?" Admiral Carter's expression changed. He looked like a man who had made a terrible but necessary decision. "Dr. Stone is preparing something special. We're going to fight fire with fire. If these things want to play the replication game, we'll show them what happens when they meet something that can out-evolve them." The communication ended, leaving Ryan and his team alone with the dying planet below. Over the next 6 hours, the human fleet arrived in the system. Ryan had never seen so many warships in one place. There were battleships, carriers, destroyers, and ships he didn't recognize. Some of the vessels looked different from normal human designs. They were sleeker, more aggressive, and covered with weapons that Ryan had never seen before. General Carl Watson commanded the fleet from the dreadnought Leviathan. The Leviathan was the largest warship humanity had ever built. It was designed to fight entire fleets by itself. Ryan received new orders. His team was to make contact with the surviving Villani and prepare them for what was about to happen. The Shadow's Edge landed near one of the underground settlements. Ryan and his team put on their combat suits and ventured into the tunnels. The air was thick and stale. Emergency lights flickered along the walls. They found the Villani huddled in a large chamber deep underground. There were maybe 200 of them left from what had once been a city of millions. They were tall and thin, with pale blue skin and large black eyes. They looked fragile and scared. Elder Kethavar was their leader. He was very old, with wrinkled skin and tired eyes. When he saw the humans, he started to shake. "You came," he whispered in broken English. "We did not think anyone would come." Ryan knelt down so he would be at the same height as the alien leader. "We received your message. Help is here." Kethavar looked confused. "But you are humans. We have heard stories about your kind. You are the predators that other species fear. Why would you help us?" Ryan had been expecting this question. "Because that's what we do. We're scary to our enemies, but we protect innocent people. That's what makes us different from other predators." Kethavar pointed toward the ceiling. Above them, the Devourers were still consuming his world. Those machines cannot be fought with normal weapons. They adapt to everything. They learn from every attack. 17 civilizations have tried to stop them. All failed. Ryan stood up. He could hear the sound of human ships moving into position above the planet. "Elder Kethavar, has anyone ever told you what happens when humans decide something needs to die?" The alien leader shook his head. "We don't fight fair," Ryan said. "We don't follow the rules. We use every dirty trick, every terrible weapon, and every cruel strategy we can think of. Other species call us monsters because we're willing to become whatever it takes to win. Ryan activated his communicator. General Watson, this is Colonel Brooks. I'm in position with the survivors. They're ready for extraction. General Watson's voice came through clearly. Understood, Colonel. Dr. Stone's toys are ready to deploy. You might want to warn our alien friends that things are about to get very loud up here. Ryan looked at the frightened Villani. You need to understand something. The human fleet up there is about to use weapons that are so dangerous, our own government banned them except for situations like this. We're going to fight the Devourers with something they've never encountered before. What kind of weapons? Kethvar asked. Ryan smiled, but it was not a comfortable smile. The kind that other species have nightmares about. We're going to turn your planet into a battleground between two different types of monsters. The difference is that our monsters follow orders and know when to stop. Above them, the first human attack began. The sound was incredible, like thunder that never ended. The walls of the underground chamber shook. What is happening? One of the younger Villani asked in terror. Ryan checked his instruments. The readings were incredible. The human fleet was deploying weapons that created energy signatures he had never seen before. Humanity is keeping its promise, Ryan said. We told you we would help. We told you we were monsters. Now you get to see what that really means. On his communicator, he could hear General Watson giving orders to his fleet commanders. Release the nanite swarms. Authorization code Pandora 7. God help us all. Ryan knew about the Pandora protocols. They were humanity's most classified weapons. Technologies so dangerous that only a handful of people knew they existed. Weapons that could destroy entire star systems if used incorrectly. The Devourers had been consuming worlds for who knows how long. They thought they were the ultimate predators. They were about to learn that they had never met anything like humanity. Nick Foster had always wanted to be a pilot. As a child, he dreamed of flying among the stars and exploring distant worlds. He never imagined he would end up commanding a squadron of ships designed to fight something that could destroy entire planets. The experimental ships looked nothing like normal human vessels. They were smaller, faster, and covered with strange ports and sensors. Most importantly, they carried cargo that made Nick's stomach turn when he thought about it. Each ship in his squadron carried millions of tiny machines called nanites. These machines were so small they could only be seen with powerful microscopes. They were programmed with one simple mission: find enemy technology, take it apart, learn from it, and build more nanites. Dr. Helen Stone had spent 3 years developing these nanites in secret laboratories deep under Earth's surface. The technology was so dangerous that the government had classified it at the highest levels. Only 12 people in the entire human government knew the nanites existed. Now Nick was about to release them against the Devourers. All squadrons, report. Ready status, Nick said into his communicator. Squadron 2 ready, came the response from Captain Julie Martinez. Squadron 3 ready, reported Commander Bob Johnson. One by one, all 12 squadrons confirmed they were prepared for the attack. Nick looked at his instruments. The Devourer machines on the planet below were still consuming everything they could find. They had no idea what was about to happen. This is General Watson on the Leviathan, came a voice over the communication system. All units, you are authorized to begin Operation Pandora. Remember, we're not trying to destroy these machines from a distance. We're going to fight them at their own game. Nick took a deep breath. All squadrons, follow me in. We're going straight into the heart of the swarm. The human ships dove toward the planet at incredible speed. As they got closer, Nick could see the Devourer machines more clearly. They looked like a cross between spiders and trees, with long metal arms that reached out to grab everything around them. There were millions of them covering the planet's surface. The Devourers noticed the approaching human ships and began to respond. Streams of energy shot up from the planet trying to destroy the attackers. But Nick's ships were too fast and too well armored. Release nanites on my mark, Nick ordered. 3, 2, 1, mark. Clouds of microscopic machines poured out of the human ships. From a distance, the nanites looked like glittering dust, but Nick knew that each speck of dust contained technology more advanced than anything the galaxy had ever seen. The nanites fell toward the planet like metallic rain. When they touched the Devourer machines, something incredible happened. Instead of being consumed like everything else that touched the Devourers, the human nanites began to fight back. They attached themselves to the alien machines and started taking them apart piece by piece. "Holy hell," whispered Lieutenant Tony Parks, who was monitoring the battle from the command ship Leviathan. "The nanites aren't just destroying them, they're learning from them." Dr. Helen Stone was watching the battle data from her laboratory ship. She had designed the nanites to be smarter than anything the Devourers had ever encountered. While the Devourer machines could only consume and copy, the human nanites could adapt and improve. The nanites are analyzing Devourer technology and incorporating it into their own design, she reported to General Watson. They're becoming stronger with every machine they destroy. On the planet's surface, the battle was unlike anything that had ever been fought. The Devourer machines tried to consume the human nanites, but found that the tiny machines fought back. Every time a Devourer learned how to destroy one type of nanite, the human machines evolved and became immune to that attack. Nick watched from his ship as entire sections of the planet's surface began to change color. Where the gray Devourer machines had been consuming everything, patches of silver began to appear. The human nanites were winning. "Sir, we have a problem," came a voice from one of Nick's squadron leaders. "The nanites are working too well. They're not just fighting the Devourers. They're starting to consume Devourer technology and turn it into human weapons." Nick looked at his instruments. The squadron leader was right. The human nanites had learned how to use Devourer replication technology. They were building copies of themselves at an incredible rate. Dr. Helen Stone's voice came over the communication system. She sounded excited and terrified at the same time. "The nanites are exceeding all expectations. They've not only stopped the Devourers, they're converting the entire machine swarm into human technology." But General Watson was thinking ahead. "Dr. Stone, what happens when they're finished with the Devourers? Will they stop?" There was a long pause before Dr. Stone answered. "I'm not sure, General. The nanites are evolving faster than I predicted. They might decide that all technology needs to be improved, not just Devourer technology." Nick felt a chill run down his spine. Were they creating something even worse than the original problem? On the planet below, the last of the Devourer machines were being consumed by human nanites. But instead of stopping, the tiny human machines began to examine everything else they could find. Abandoned Villani buildings, crashed spaceships, even the rocks and soil. Elder Kethvar was watching the battle from his underground shelter. He had never seen anything like it. The monsters that had been destroying his world for months were being destroyed by even more efficient monsters. "The human machines are consuming the Devourers," he said to his fellow Villani. "But what will consume the human machines?" Above the planet, General Watson was asking the same question. "Dr. Stone, I need to know right now. Are we in control of these nanites, or are they in control of themselves?" Dr. Stone was working frantically at her computers, trying to understand what her creations were doing. "General, the nanites are showing signs of independent decision-making. They're not just following their original programming anymore. They're thinking." Nick could see the problem developing. The human nanites had consumed all the Devourer machines on the planet. Now they were looking for other things to improve. And there were billions of them. "General Watson, I recommend we implement the Reaper Protocol," Dr. Stone said. Her voice was shaky. Nick had heard of the Reaper Protocol, but he didn't know what it was. Only the highest-ranking officers knew about humanity's most secret weapons. "Explain the Reaper Protocol to the squadron commanders," General Watson ordered. Dr. Stone took a deep breath. "The Reaper Protocol is a kill switch built into every nanite, but it doesn't just shut them down. It turns them against each other. Any nanite that receives the Reaper signal will immediately begin hunting and destroying other nanites." Nick understood. "You're going to turn our own weapons against themselves. It's the only way to make sure they don't become the next threat to the galaxy," General Watson said. "Dr. Stone, implement the protocol." The effect was immediate and, terrifying. On the planet below, the silver patches where human nanites had been working began to flicker and change. The nanites had turned on each other and were fighting a microscopic war across the entire planet's surface. Within hours, both the devourer machines and the human nanites had destroyed each other. The planet was finally quiet. Elder Kethavar transmitted a message to the human fleet. The machines are gone. Both the devourers and your nanites have destroyed each other. But how did you know this would happen? General Watson answered personally. Elder Kethavar, humanity learned long ago that the most dangerous weapon is one you can't control. So we build our weapons with the ability to destroy themselves if necessary. We'd rather lose our own technology than let it become a threat to innocent people. Nick looked down at the planet below. It was scarred and mostly lifeless, but it was free. The devourers were gone, and the human nanites had eliminated themselves rather than become a new threat. The battle was over. Humanity had won by creating monsters even more terrible than the devourers, then destroying those monsters before they could become a problem. It was the most human solution possible. Lisa Morgan had been a starship captain for 15 years, but she had never seen anything like the Villani homeworld after the battle. The planet looked like a giant had taken a bite out of it and spat out the pieces. Where cities once stood, there were now empty craters filled with strange metallic dust. The oceans had been drained, leaving behind dried lake beds covered in gray powder. The forests were gone, replaced by twisted metal structures that looked like the skeletons of enormous animals. But the planet was quiet now. Both the devourers and humanity's nanites had destroyed each other, leaving behind a world that was free but mostly dead. Lisa commanded the rescue ship Mercy. Her job was to evacuate the surviving Villani from their underground shelters and help them resettle on other worlds. It should have been a simple humanitarian mission. Instead, it was turning into the most uncomfortable assignment of her career. The problem was not the Villani themselves. They were grateful to be alive and polite to their human rescuers. The problem was how they looked at humans now. There was fear in their eyes. Not the fear of enemies, but the fear of people who had seen something terrible and couldn't forget it. Lisa walked through the temporary shelter that her crew had set up for the Villani refugees. There were about 800 survivors from the entire planet. 800 people out of what had once been a population of 12 billion. Elder Kethavar approached her. The old alien looked even more tired than when Lisa had first met him 3 days ago. His large black eyes seemed to stare right through her. "Captain Morgan, may I speak with you privately?" he asked. Lisa nodded and followed him to a quiet corner of the shelter. Kethavar was carrying a small device that looked like a cross between a book and a computer screen. "What can I do for you, Elder?" Lisa asked. Kethavar activated the device. Images appeared on the screen showing the battle from 3 days ago. The images had been recorded by Villani sensors from deep underground. "We watched everything," Kethavar said quietly. "We saw your nanites consume the devourers. We saw them learn and grow stronger. We saw them begin to examine our world with what looked like hunger." Lisa felt uncomfortable. She knew where this conversation was going. "We also saw what happened next," Kethavar continued. "Your General Watson gave an order and your nanites turned on each other. They destroyed themselves completely rather than become a threat." The old alien looked directly at Lisa. "Captain, in all our history we have never seen technology that could make that choice. Machines that would choose to die rather than risk hurting innocent people. How is such a thing possible?" Lisa had been hoping someone else would have this conversation with the Villani. She was a ship captain, not a philosopher or a politician. But Elder Kethavar was looking at her with expectation, and she owed him an honest answer. "Elder, our nanites didn't choose to destroy themselves. We programmed them to self-destruct if they became too dangerous. Dr. Helen Stone built that capability into every nanite before we deployed them." Kethavar nodded slowly. "Yes, we understood that part. But Captain, your people created weapons more terrible than the devourers, used them to save us, then deliberately destroyed those weapons to protect the galaxy. Why would you sacrifice such powerful technology?" Lisa sat down on a supply crate. The question was bigger than she was comfortable with, but she would try her best to answer it. Elder, humans learned something important about 1,000 years ago. The most dangerous weapon is not the one that can destroy your enemies. The most dangerous weapon is the one that you cannot control. We've seen what happens when technology becomes more powerful than the people who created it. But surely your scientists wanted to keep studying the nanites. Surely your military leaders wanted to keep such weapons for future battles. Lisa smiled sadly. Oh, they did. Dr. Helen Stone spent 3 years of her life creating those nanites. Some of our generals argued that we should try to capture and control the evolved nanites instead of destroying them. But our leaders made a choice. What choice? They decided that being the good guys was more important than being the most powerful. We'd rather give up a weapon that could make us invincible than risk that weapon hurting innocent people later. Elder Kethavar stared at the images on his device for a long time. Finally, he spoke again. Captain, there is something else we need to discuss. Something that frightens my people even more than the nanites. Lisa waited. During the battle, our sensors detected other human weapons being prepared for deployment. Weapons that were never used because the nanites worked so well. Dr. Stone was not the only human scientist working on ways to destroy the Devourers. Lisa felt her stomach tighten. The Villani had detected the other Pandora weapons. She hoped this conversation would not go in that direction. Our computers analyzed the energy signatures from your fleet, Kethvar continued. Captain, some of your ships were carrying weapons that could have destroyed our entire star system. Not just our planet. Our sun and all the planets around it. Lisa did not deny it. There was no point in lying to someone who had the sensor data. Why would your people build such weapons? Kethavar asked. Lisa stood up and walked to the window. Outside, she could see human engineers working to set up water purification systems for the Villani refugees. Her people were working hard to help the survivors, even though they had only met them a few days ago. Elder, humanity has a rule. If someone threatens innocent people with extinction, we respond with whatever level of force is necessary to stop them. If the nanites hadn't worked, we were prepared to use weapons that would have completely sterilized this system and prevented the Devourers from spreading to other worlds. Even if it meant killing all of us as well? Lisa turned to face the alien. Leader. Yes. We would have given you the choice first. We would have offered to evacuate as many of your people as possible. But if you had refused, and if there was no other way to stop the Devourers from spreading, we would have destroyed everything to save the rest of the galaxy. Kethavar was quiet for a very long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. Captain, my people are grateful that you saved us. But we are also terrified of what you are. You are not just predators. You are something much more dangerous. You are people who will make the hardest choices imaginable and live with the consequences. Lisa nodded. That's what makes us different from other predator species, Elder. We don't hunt for pleasure or conquest. We hunt to protect, and we're willing to become monsters if that's what it takes to keep innocent people safe. But what protects the galaxy from you? Lisa smiled, but it was a sad smile. We do, Elder. We protect the galaxy from ourselves. We build weapons that can destroy themselves. We make rules about when those weapons can be used, and when the threat is over, we put the weapons away and go back to helping people. Kethvar looked at the images on his device one more time, then turned it off. Captain, I have one final question. If humanity had not existed, if we had sent our distress call and no one had answered, what would have happened? Lisa thought about it. The Devourers would have finished consuming your world. Then they would have moved on to the next system and the next. They would have kept spreading until someone finally found a way to stop them, or until they consumed everything. How many species would have died? Hundreds, maybe thousands. Entire civilizations would have been wiped out. Kethvar nodded. So by being the monsters that other species fear, humans actually protect those species from much worse monsters. That's the idea, Lisa said. We're scary so that other people don't have to be. The old alien was quiet for a long moment. Then, he said something that Lisa would remember for the rest of her life. Captain, I think I finally understand why the galaxy needs monsters like humans. Someone has to be willing to do the terrible things that good people cannot do. Someone has to carry that burden so that others can remain innocent. Lisa looked out the window again at her crew helping the Volani refugees. Elder, being the galaxy's monsters is not a privilege, it's a responsibility, and it's not one we take lightly. Patricia White had been Earth's ambassador to alien civilizations for 8 years, but she had never walked into a room where every single person was afraid of her species. The Galactic Council chamber was enormous, with representatives from over 200 different alien civilizations. All of them were staring at her. 6 months had passed since the Battle of Kepler 442. News of humanity's victory had spread throughout the galaxy faster than anyone expected. But so had stories about how humans had won that victory. Patricia walked to the center of the chamber, her footsteps echoing in the silence. She was a small woman, barely 5 feet tall, with gray hair and a kind face. She looked nothing like the monster that other species imagined when they thought about humans. Chancellor Vextai of the Andorian Republic stood up. He was tall and thin, with purple skin and 4 arms. His voice carried clearly through the chamber. Ambassador White, the human species stands accused of violating 17 interstellar laws regarding artificial intelligence, 3 treaties on self-replicating weapons, and the entire Geneva Conventions of Space Warfare. Patricia nodded calmly. That is correct, Chancellor. You admit to these violations? I do. Humanity broke every single one of those laws when we deployed our nanite weapons against the Devourers. A ripple of whispers went through the chamber. Many of the alien representatives had expected humans to deny the charges or make excuses. Chancellor Vextai seemed surprised by her directness. Ambassador, do you understand that these laws exist to prevent the development of weapons too dangerous for civilized species to possess? I understand completely, Patricia said. Those laws were written to protect the galaxy from weapons that could destroy entire star systems. Humanity possesses such weapons and used them to save the Volani. Representative Kralton from the hegemony of worlds leaned forward. He was a reptilian creature with scales that changed color when he was angry. Right now, his scales were bright red. Ambassador, your species created machines that could have consumed the entire galaxy. How do we know you will not use such weapons against us? Before Patricia could answer, another voice spoke from the gallery. It was Elder Kethvar, representing the Volani survivors. Because they destroyed those weapons rather than keep them, the old alien said. I watched them do it. The humans had created perfect killing machines and they chose to eliminate them completely, rather than risk those machines becoming a threat to innocent people. Elder Kethvar walked slowly to the center of the chamber. He was older and more frail than when Patricia had first met him, but his voice was strong. Honored representatives, I have lived through the attack of the Devourers and the rescue by humanity. I have seen both monsters in action. The difference is simple. One type of monster exists to consume and destroy. The other type of monster exists to protect and defend. Representative Ilara from the Peaceful Confederacy stood up. She was a tall, elegant creature that looked like a cross between a bird and a tree. Her species had never fought a war in their entire history. Elder Kethvar, we understand that humanity saved your people, but surely you must be concerned about their methods. They used weapons that no civilized species should possess. Elder Kethvar looked directly at her. Representative Ilara, how many of your people have faced extinction? None. My species has never been threatened with complete destruction. Then with respect, you cannot understand what it means to have someone answer your desperate call for help. When death is certain and hope is gone, you do not care about the methods your rescuer uses. You only care that someone came. Patricia stepped forward. Representatives, Elder Kethvar is correct. Humanity used terrible weapons to stop an even more terrible threat. We broke laws to save lives. We would make the same choice again. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some representatives were angry, others seemed frightened, and a few appeared thoughtful. Chancellor Vextai called for quiet. Ambassador White, the question before us is simple. How can the galaxy coexist with a species that possesses world-ending weapons and has proven willing to use them? Patricia had been preparing for this question for months. Chancellor, I propose a new classification for humanity within the Galactic Council. What kind of classification? We propose to be designated as apex custodians, a species that other civilizations can call upon when facing extinction-level threats, knowing that we will respond with whatever level of force is necessary to eliminate those threats. The chamber was silent again. Patricia continued. Humanity will agree to use our most dangerous weapons only in response to official requests for help from the Galactic Council. We will not deploy extinction-level technology for conquest, territory, or resources, only to defend innocent species from threats they cannot handle themselves. Representative Mordak from the warrior clans laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. And what guarantee do we have that humans will honor such an agreement? Elder Kethvar answered before Patricia could speak. The same guarantee my people had when we sent out our distress call. The fact that they came when we needed help, even though they gained nothing from saving us. But how do we know they will not eventually turn those weapons on us? Asked Representative Ilara. Patricia looked around the chamber at all the alien faces. Some were curious, some were afraid, and some were hostile. But they were all listening. Representatives, humanity has possessed nuclear weapons for over 300 years. Weapons capable of destroying entire planets. We have never used them against another intelligent species. We have possessed biological weapons for even longer. We have never deployed them except in laboratory settings for defensive research. She paused to let that sink in. We have possessed faster-than-light travel for 2 centuries, giving us the ability to strike at any world in the galaxy. We have used that technology to explore, to trade, and to help, never to conquer. But the nanite weapons are different, protested Representative Crowlton. They could destroy all technology in the galaxy, which is why we destroyed them, Patricia said firmly. Humanity has a simple rule. If we cannot control a weapon perfectly, we do not keep it. We would rather sacrifice our own technological advantages than risk those weapons falling into the wrong hands or acting independently. Chancellor Vextai looked around the chamber. We will now vote on the human proposal. All in favor of designating humanity as apex custodians with the authority to respond to extinction-level threats? The vote took 20 minutes. When it was finished, Chancellor Vextai announced the results. The motion passes by unanimous vote. Humanity is hereby designated as apex custodians of the galaxy. Patricia felt a mixture of relief and dread. Humanity had gotten what they wanted, but they had also accepted an enormous responsibility. Elder Kethvar approached her as the other representatives began to leave. Ambassador White, do you realize what your species has just agreed to do? We've agreed to be the ones who handle the problems that no one else can solve, Patricia said. More than that, you have agreed to be the monsters that other species call when their own monsters are not scary enough. Patricia nodded. Elder, someone has to be willing to do the terrible things that good people cannot do. Someone has to make the hard choices and live with the consequences. If that someone is humanity, then we accept that burden. 3 days later, Patricia received the first official request under the new protocols. The message came from the Zephyrian Empire, a civilization located over 5,000 light-years from Earth. Apex custodians of humanity, we are facing invasion by entities from another dimension. These beings consume space-time itself, unraveling the fabric of reality wherever they appear. Our weapons cannot harm them. Our shields cannot stop them. Please help us. Admiral Jake Harrison, now commanding humanity's new deep space response fleet, reviewed the request with his senior staff. Sir, this is even worse than the Devourers, said Dr. Helen Stone, who had been promoted to head of controlled extinction technology. If these entities can consume space-time itself, they could unravel the entire universe. Jake looked out at the stars through the window of his flagship. Somewhere out there, another species was facing extinction, and they had called humanity for help. Dr. Stone, how long will it take you to develop weapons that can fight beings made of space-time distortion? I have no idea, sir. We're talking about enemies that exist partially outside our reality. It could take years to figure out how to hurt them. The Zephyrians don't have years, Jake said. They probably don't have months. What are you suggesting? Jake turned to face his staff. I'm suggesting we do what humanity does best. We figure out how to become more dangerous than the most dangerous thing in the universe. Then we go save some people. Dr. Stone shook her head. Sir, the weapons we would need to fight reality-consuming entities. They could accidentally destroy the universe if we make a mistake. Then we better not make any mistakes, Jake said. Prep the fleet for departure. Send a message to the Zephyrians. Help is coming. Humanity's monsters are on the way. As the human fleet prepared to jump to hyperspace, Jake looked out at the stars one more time. 6 months ago, the galaxy had learned that when desperate species called for help, humanity's monsters would answer.